Hello everyone, welcome to this last part of the course in which we'll learn how to upload our model to Sketchfab in order to load the textures and squeeze out all the possibilities of the image, okay? Good, Sketchfab is this web platform which offers real-time rendering, so we're going to work with this platform. You have to create a user. Since Sketchfab works like this, you have to create a user in order to upload models. When you have your user, you click on Upload, and here we'll load the FBX file we previously exported. Hit Open, then Continue. And here we name it, describe it as always, categories, and some tags in order for your project to go viral. You can fill in all these when you upload the model. When you're done with this, hit Continue, and the model would load. Since it takes a bit for it to load, I have it already here. And when it finishes loading, the result would be something like this. Okay, you see the scene loaded with the textures on place. Okay. The only thing left is simply getting the most out of this image and finish loading the textures. So we click on 3D settings and we open a window in order to modify all these elements left. Okay, let's load the textures themselves. Let's head to Materials and let's click on the background. So we get in base color now. The texture loaded at the moment. Click here, and in Manage Textures, we import the texture we made in Photoshop. So let's look for the texture. Here it is. Color background. Hit Open. And we see that the texture loads, but we're obviously missing the transparency mask. So we head out to Opacity, and you see different opacity channels here. Each channel works in a different way, though they're all opacity maps. We'll use the mask option for this exercise. Click here in Manage Textures. We import this one here, the alpha background we created before, okay? Notice that by doing this, we automatically get the transparent background. If you see it doesn't look good, we just raise this parameter, and the more we raise it, the more transparency we get. Okay? We'll leave it more or less around here. Now for the lighting texture, so we'll head to Emission. Remember, we did the texture expressly for the sun to light the scene, so we click Manage Textures and import the emitter background. Click Open, and now, as you can see, this sun can emit a bit of light. Well, a bit or a lot. For now, we can leave it like this. Let's click the floor now, and we'll follow the same procedure we did before. Click Manage Texture and look for the floor texture. And now the opacity layer. Mask, Manage Texture, Import, and look for the floor's opacity. Okay, now we manage the parameter. We can raise or lower these parameters so we get these stroke parameters in the borders. Finally, we have the cheese, which is also here, and we'll do the same. We did the cheese this way because if we place the alpha, we get to do some deformations we wouldn't have to do with polygons. Okay? This way, we get all these curves made from an alpha layer and a texture. Not with geometry. It's an alternative way of modeling. With the nachos, we've created volume in this case. If they had a more organic shape, we could have used the same formula, so to speak. If we want something flat to have a more wavy shape, you should use this technique since you'll be doing less polygons on your image. Okay? So as I was saying, we did the nachos using volume. Okay, so with this, we would have all the textures on. What's left is to try and make the most out of this image using different filters. To squeeze out this image's possibilities, we can toy around with different things. You already know that if you've used Sketchfab before, you know you can manage a lot of parameters. We can, for example, make this flower pot have a more metallic finish, for example. Okay? We can set the materials to be more metallic or more matte. We have a lot of things to do and to build in the Materials tab. But the strength is also in the lighting and the post-processing filter tabs. So let's head to the post-processing filters tab and we'll see different options. Okay, for example, if we hover the mouse over here, we'll see what each function does. In this case, if we activate SSAO, we'll activate an ambient occlusion. And notice how the image changes with it. This option in this case won't affect the image because it's made for reflective materials and we don't have any. Then we have more options. We can set an exaggerated grain. We can animate this grain. We'll set it lower. We can apply some blur to the image. We can manage these parameters, though we don't need them now. But you can quietly check out what each thing is for. We can make the image very sharp, if that's what we want. That way we mark the strokes more too. This option is kind of a camera filter, but this is probably for other type of illustrations maybe. We have a vignette option here. Notice each panel has its own options to manage. We have the bloom option, which creates a light halo. So we have many lights. It creates that kind of halo. See, we get this type of lighting. And well, then we have here in tone mapping, color options and filters. We have different presets so we can work with them. Here there's exposure, saturation, brightness, contrast, okay? All these, as I said, you can quietly check it out in order to adjust the image to your taste. There are several combinations. Finally, in color balance, the same. We can manage, like in Photoshop, the color balance. So the image changes color, or some colors change color, depending on the needs or the features. All right. If we switch to the lighting tab, we can choose a characteristic lighting in the background. Backgrounds that come preloaded, we can look for an adequate background, which are also backgrounds that bring light to the scene. As you can see, we can change the light's orientation. And we can make it brighter or dimmer too. We also have an individual light panel that we can handle through different parameters. All of these, as I was saying, you can check it out calmly in order to see how each light affects the scene. Anyway, we have some lighting presets here to work with them, okay? So we can, for example, lower the brightness so you can see it better. Remember that we can turn up the brightness of the sun in the Emission tab. We can adjust it so the sun affects more or less. Check it out. Well, last in the General tab, there's the background option. We can set different parameters here, like for example, that we can see the background and blur the background. Okay, we can play around with the background itself. We can set one of the images Sketchfab offers, like these gradients, or we can just set a background color. If we wanted to get a customized background, we would need to get a Pro account, which is a paid account. And with that one, we could set the background we want. But if we're free users, we have these options, which aren't too bad anyway. Well, little else to add. As I say, we can manage different parameters and dedicate the time we want to all these. Okay, so this would conclude the course. I have here another model I did, which is simply the same model. But I put more time into the textures, or well, to this last procedure of working on it in Sketchfab. I worked, as I say, with a bit more time, the lights, and basically the work uploaded to Sketchfab. The rest, as you see, is exactly the same. Okay? It's about generating different shapes, different models, practice, and do a bit what you like. We could hit now save view and save the screenshot so I could upload it to my website in order to present it to clients. Okay? So that's it. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next course. See ya. Bye bye.